Right, let's talk First Home Fund. What we're going to do in this video is that we will talk about the fundamentals, we'll talk about the process, and I'll give you a little bit about my thoughts as far as the pros and cons are concerned. So let's talk First Home Fund. It's obviously for first-time buyers. The clue's in the name, right? First Home Fund. But if you have got a partner and your partner already owns a property, but you are the first time buyer, you still might be able to use the First Home Fund. The thing is that you've got to sell the other property, because what the government are wanting to do is they're quite happy to give you that money, but they're not wanting to see you at the end of the day have two properties. So as long as you sell that first property and one of you is still a first time buyer, then you've got access to the First Home Fund. So the First Home Fund is a tranche of money which ultimately will run out, because the last tranche ran out because it was so popular. It will give the opportunity of first time buyers to get a foot on the property ladder with only a 5% deposit. Currently, 2021, coming out of the back end of lockdown and the pandemic, you need 10% really to get in and buy a property. So a 5% deposit really helps those first-time buyers. So you still need to have your 5%. This isn't 100% mortgage territory, this is 5%. And what the government are going to give you is access to £25,000, or 49% of the value, whatever is lower. So the maximum you're going to be able to get is £25,000. Now, you're not going to have to pay any interest on that money. There's no monthly payment, but it is a loan. You're going to have to pay it back. And this is one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later, but you do have to pay it back. And how they're going to work out how to pay that back is that £25,000, there will be a calculation and they will work out what the percentage of the purchase price relates to £25,000. So they'll calculate the percentage that the £25,000 is. And then when you come to sell the property, as long as you've not paid back any of the £25,000, then you will have to pay the government back that percent. So for sake of ease, what about £100,000 purchase? You get £25,000 from the government. That means that you're going to have to give back 25% of that. So if the property over the years gains in value and you end up selling the property for £200,000, you have to pay back 25%, £200,000, that's £50,000. Okay, so that's where the government are going to get their money back. So that's the rudiments of it. The process, well, you're 550 quid to play. You've got to get an award letter, but you don't go through the process until you've actually got your offer. That's your legal offer to buy the property verbally accepted. Once you've got that, then you go to the First Home Fund and you apply for an award letter. Now, all before that, what I would be doing and what I would be telling my clients to do, and what we can do for them, is that we'll do the due diligence. So there are calculators on various websites which will allow you to calculate whether or not you're going to be eligible for the First Home Fund. So you get your offer accepted, you then pay your £550 to apply, you get your award letter, and then once you've got your award letter, you're off to somebody like me, the mortgage broker, and then we can start moving forward with the mortgage application. But the mortgage application, there's only a number of lenders who will look at the First Home Fund, okay? And because it is a limited market, what you'll find is that you won't get the best rates. The banks and building societies have slightly hiked up the interest rates in connection with First Home Fund. So be aware that you're not going to get eye-watering rates. Now listen, you can't have everything. The government are giving you some money. You've only got 5% to put down. So, you're not going to be able to get access to the best rates possible. So that's the process. Let's talk about the pros and the cons. The cons, as far as I see, is that you're going to end up having to pay $550 to get your mortgage, plus you're going to have to pay another whatever 400 plus VAT extra to your solicitor, because the amount of paperwork, I mean, I've seen this, I've done this, the amount of paperwork, it's like they've chopped down a couple of trees to produce the paperwork with this, and reams and reams of the stuff. And of course, the Scottish Government have had to employ their own solicitors. And once, as in any transaction, once you start getting more than one solicitor involved, then the whole thing just becomes incredibly clunky. So be aware that the process is clunky and it will take time to get you from start to finish. So give yourself at least 6 to 8 weeks. Don't think this is going to get done in a month, because if you think it's going to get done in a month, you're just going to go and end up in an almighty car crash, and it's going to be hassle, it's going to be stressful. So the process is clunky. You're going to end up, as I say, £1,200, probably £1,200 lighter with regards to the process, and you've got to pay it back. Now, this, as I say, isn't free money. You have got to pay it back, and you've got to pay it back as a percentage. So this is my big concern as a first-time buyer. If you buy the property, you've got to then, let's assume you sell the property. You'll be selling the property and you're moving up the property food chain. And the main way that you're going to be able to do that, and the main way most people are able to do that, is because they made a shed load of money out of the sale of their property. But even if you make a lot of money out of the sale of your property, you're going to have to give 25% of that back to the government. So this is what you must do. You must treat, I think, the First Home Fund as almost a second mortgage, and start to pay that down as much and as quickly as possible. You can pay that down with over any period of time, but you have to pay it off in 5% chunks. The quicker you're able to do that, then obviously the more money you're going to be able to keep when you come to sell it. So treat it as if somebody has given you money to allow you to buy a property, and what you're now doing is that you're saving up for the purchase, the saving that you should have done in the first place. But you've got the benefit that you're in your house and you've bought a house, so you've got your foot on the property ladder. So thank the government, but for goodness sake, start paying that off as soon as possible. The positives, well, obviously, if you haven't got a deposit other than a 5% deposit, then you're not going to be able to, or you're previously not going to have been able to buy a property. So again, hats off to the government for allowing that money to be available to first-time buyers. That's the main benefit. And one of the other benefits is that if you've got your Help to Buy ISA or your Lifetime ISA, then you can use that as well. There's no problem about being able to use that in contribution to your 5% deposit. And then finally, and this is maybe a fallout and may not have been one of the reasons why they brought this in, but let's assume that you're in a competitive market and you have to bid. In order to be competitive at a closing date, you need to try and bid over the home report value. Now, if you've only got a 5% deposit, then that's obviously going to be difficult, because anything over and above is going to have to be provided by yourself. But let's say that you've got a 10% deposit and you want to put an offer in which is 5% over home report. You're still able to buy the property, because what you would do is you would use 5% of your 10% to bid over the home report value, leaving your 5% as the deposit, and then you can use that with the First Home Fund. So you've got a 10% deposit, but you're able to be competitive in what at the moment is a very, very competitive market. So there we go. That is the process, that's the fundamentals, and my take on the pros and cons. Any questions, then please don't hesitate to pick up the phone. You know where we are. And yeah, best of luck in finding a property in what is a hell of a difficult market at the moment.